Thanks for joining us today. We have the great pleasure of talking to Melissa Shultz-Jones, who is a local illustrator and artist. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yes, of course. Um, I guess for our viewers who may not be as familiar as we are here, you are an illustrator and also one of our regulars here at Avondale. I absolutely love your illustrations. And I wanted to ask you, when did you decide to pursue becoming an illustrator? And did you always know that you wanted to be an artist?
Um, First of all, I love our librarians. They're at the Avondale branch. My 11-year-old and I love coming in and sharing our books with you guys and learning new books, but learning about new books. But so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I've always loved art since I was little bitty, and my grandmother would take me to fine art classes as a little kid, and so I'd learned to oil paint, which was really kind of scary. And I think my mom still has some of those oil paintings around. They're really they're cute, and uh, but I really loved the cartooning side of things, and really thought that I might be an animator instead. And I've always loved illustrations. And so in high school, I was creating book reports, and they were more like presented as a children's book instead. So when my teachers would let me, they would let me do that, which was really sweet. And so yeah, I mean, I think I've always just loved looking at the illustrations, especially my grandmother had a lot of vintage like fables, and all kinds of just older books with these. She was a teacher, and so she had access to all kinds of books at a young age, and so I just remember poring over those books, especially the illustrations. I do have a little bit of dyslexia, and so felt like the pictures really helped to tell the story, and just just loved just loved that form of storytelling. And yeah.
So after you finished school, did you just kind of fall into illustrating? Were you illustrating things like in high school, or how did that kind of naturally progress for you?
I mean, I did study art for a bit, and but it was at lovely Montevallo, University of Montevallo, and but it was more of a formal, more of a traditional approach to art. They didn't have an illustration department.
Mm.
And so then I had children, was found my partner, married him, and had children. And it wasn't until maybe the children were like 8 and 10 and things like that, where I decided like I've really got to sink back into to this life again and reclaim some of that. Um, and so I just kind of looked into trying to do some graphic novels and met some great people and tried to do some collaboration, but it didn't quite hit home with me. And although I do love that format, and just didn't have to go do a whole lot of like historical or thinking about through my life to realize, oh yeah, actually you love picture books. So I went, just went back to that love and just really started to get back into that way of thinking and drawing and constructing, which drawing is so mathematical, I think, but to get back into that way of thinking, I just poured over children's books and joined SCBWI through just the urging of friends and people that I would just meet, and put together a portfolio and went to New York and shopped it. Did an online New York conference. Thank you, COVID, and as well, and just traveled around, meeting agents and art directors and fellow artists and storytellers and writers and editors, and just really tried to take in what they would tell me, and trying to hone in my craft. I found it to be a very loving environment where we really uplift one another. And yeah, it really just kept picking up from there.
I might have already said this, but I'm a great admirer of your illustrations. I think that they are beautiful, and I think that you're very talented. And I'm so thankful to have you as a patron here at Avondale as a local artist. And you told me you might have brought some of them, and I would love for you to show our viewers if you don't mind.
Sure. So I do have a website, and if you want to see more, or on Instagram, I'm pretty great about posting those, but it's melissashultz-jones.com.
That's beautiful.
And thank you. I do all kinds of things. I do botanicals, and I'm working on a project right now. I'm working on it, getting my Etsy shop up and running, maybe by the end of the year. And but you can contact me through my website. But I've done portraits, and I don't know, kind of you name it, I've done it. I've just finished up a big thing for Coach. I was part of I designed their holiday campaign. Was that 2 years ago? And
wow.
Yeah, they had my work like in their windows. They had it on a tile on the floor in Madison Square.
What? That's crazy. No big deal.
No big deal, you know. They turned a lot of my work into wallets and luggage tags, and then
wow.
I've still got some more stuff that they haven't released yet, so I don't think I'll be able to show that. But anyway, so I did bring, I think, mostly like kidlit type stuff. But
yeah,
so I don't know.
I love that.
It's an oldie, but one of my favorites.
It's so cute.
I do save a lot of my early sketches and sketchbooks from bigger projects. I did. One of the children's books I did was Have You Seen My Egg? And it's just a cute little picture book about a chicken who's a single father who is looking for his egg, has a dream, and knows that he's got a baby coming to him. And spoiler alert, he ends up finding the egg. It's a sweet story, but and it was my very first picture book. But I did like a little character lineup for them. I did lots and lots of sketches before I could decide on how I wanted.
Cute.
Thank you.
I like the little rabbit with his little hat.
There's something about that one that it must have reminded me of my brothers. It's my old like Pinson for
so cute.
It's got Pinson colors. I think I was imagining just old friends and siblings, but I mean, anyway. So I do a lot of this sort of thing, and then I'll take the character, and I mean, none of this goes into the book, but I'll make them doing various things like, okay, we're going to drive a tractor, and maybe this little chicken here, or this one might be knitting, you know. So I've got lots of little pictures like that I'll probably go to full color in those, just so that I can continue to make any tweaks for the overall design and the punch and all of that. And so as I'm drawing the characters and making them up, I'm also thinking about their environment and how they're going to pop out from their environment, because you really don't want to lose them in the busyness of a competing color palette. So yeah, they're really fun to make. I love character design. It's not a very nice picture. I would not ever encourage any children to act like this about me, but it's one of my favorite pictures. And this is called a spray spread, a double page spread. And so this is the original art, so I'm not going to fold it, but if it's in the book, it's kind of like you
Right.
open up like this. And so you'll have to read the story to find out what is going on here. But because they add, as you may know, they add the lettering later, the font after the pictures have been scanned in. And so anyway.
I love how the colors pop, you know, like the red is just, it's so vibrant.
Yeah.
Of the beads.
Yeah, it was. And then some of our really observant children may notice that there is a sulfur butterfly on every page. So I wonder if you could,
Oh, wow.
You can try to find that on every page and see what it's doing. And it also is helping to tell the story. This piece was not done for a book. This was done for a brochure. And
I love that.
I love it's painting and drawing is a great way to explore just the world around you, thinking about being absorbed in other activities.
Yeah.
I even do, but I do actually love new grass and bluegrass. So I did love doing this piece.
It encourages, I think, like the viewer to imagine themselves as part of it, you know? Like, I want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just this, I imagined I can't remember the name. It was something hollow, but maybe it was Hickory Hollow or something, but just this little land. And I dreamed about maybe expanding it a little bit to a story, but there's so many things to do. So and then there's this one, which this is a couple of years old too. But I love gardening, and maybe this is my ideal garden. I don't know.
It's beautiful. It makes me very happy that you know how the yellow pops.
Thank you. Yeah, I love a good yellow. Like finding the right yellow is
yeah
to me, but just like a warm yellow. But it was just fun to. I really love the illustrators from the 1950s. P.D. Eastman is one of them. He wrote Go Dogs Go, and I mean there's Mary Blair, there's oh my gosh, there's so many from that era where everything is flat. There's not a lot of depth to the painting. It's almost like Fauvism in a way. Reminds me of that, even though the colors are wild and not normal, but just like the lack of depth. Like I'm thinking about Gauguin, who was like a little earlier than the Fauvist movement, but kind of a father to it. But just the lack of depth in the pictures are really interesting to me.
You know, we're about a year into COVID. We're hopefully seeing the end. I don't believe it's completely over, but you know, especially in the last year, how did COVID affect you on a personal level, and did it affect your creative process at all? Did you find yourself having to do things differently? You know, with operations of, you know, doing illustrations and maybe even your own business?
That's good questions. So during COVID, I was doing the work for Coach, which was pretty great, especially during the thick of it. So I think I worked for them maybe a little over a year. Just they would find different things and send them my way. And you know, as an illustrator or an artist, you're usually holed up in your studio working. You know, I've got my audiobook, you know, listen to something on Hoopla. Like been listening to the ones in Future King recently, but I'm listening to audiobooks or podcasts, or just some music and working, and it's pretty joyful. I think I did miss visiting with other artists, and that did feel very isolating because I do love our artist community here in Birmingham. Um, so that was interesting. I also teach school, and so I teach like third and fourth grade, and
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, so I was with those students. We were not our school. We didn't shut down for COVID, and so that was really nice. Let's see, yeah, I mean, I think the hard part during COVID though was it was hard to stay motivated. It was hard to, like, there at the very beginning, it seemed almost like, oh, this feels almost like a vacation because I can just be home all the time. And I was into dyeing and did a lot of sewing projects, and just it felt like a little creative burst there for a bit. And then just I think the isolation just kind of got to me after a time. Our school did have to shut down several times, and it was just hard. Um, uh, you know, all of the arts, acting and musicians, all of those types of. I mean, I think we all need creativity in our life, no matter what you do, and I think that not being able to go on your normal hikes or your neighborhood walks is very stifling. Not being able to have energetic, fun conversations with people, just kind of, I don't know. I went through a drought. I mean, honestly, I did, and I think, which was interesting because I was in, the industry, the children's book industry was still in go mode, and they were still trying to push books out and trying to revamp. Of course, like we're all having to do how they're going to market these books, how are they still going to make their pay their artists and their writers and their staff, and but I found that very frustrating, just the whole commercialism of it when everything's just in complete standstill. I felt that,
Right.
yeah, I just needed some time, I think, away from that. And just that idea that we have to keep going as people and keep pushing through. I think there was a lot of resistance to that, and so I ended up doing a lot of reading during that time, and playing the guitar, things like that. It was hard to find my way back into art, but I think I'm settling back into things.
I wanted to ask what you believe the importance of supporting community and the importance of supporting especially local artists is.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. It's not maybe not that easy. um, yeah, it's. I mean, I think our local artists, and there's several of them. They're coming to mind right now. And they're really living off of what they're getting from their community. And I think with COVID, not being able to have art fairs, art walk, art crawl, a lot of the more like outsider art, not or the fairs that don't require you to you're not as competitive, maybe I should say. Um, they've really counted on their local patrons, and you know and I think that's really harmed them, and I think supporting local communities, supporting their artists for anything they can come up with, flyers for bands or design on a website, or anything that they already have an expertise, please just hire them. I mean, they depend on the strength of the community, and usually they're one person shows, and but somehow, like all artists, and somehow we're responsible for the marketing, for our presence, for showing up to the things. And then some groups want you to have a shiny, sparkly personality to go with it. And all of those things are asking you not to be in the studio creating. And all those things are also whittling away at your creativity and your time. And many of us are also parents and have families. And so, yeah, I think if you could find some way to incorporate the local artists, like Miss Fancy just came back to the park, and the sculpture was done by an artist here in the Avondale Forest Park area, which was great. The repairs and yeah, just look for them on Instagram and see if you can find ways to reach out to your school system or make that next flyer for the next event. Don't try to cut corners. I mean, you can find somebody, I'm sure, that'll do it for next to nothing online somewhere.
I really love the question of what brings you joy in life. And so I wanted to ask, what brings you joy in life, and how have you made time for it, especially lately? And have you picked up any new hobbies?
Oh. Let's see. I love hiking, and going to Ruffner sparks joy. Being out in nature, even if it's for a little 20-minute hike, that is just such a great way to just kind of clear myself a bit. And reading, read loads of books. Being with my children and my dog, taking him on his 2 daily walks is just such a great refreshing thing. I get to catch up with my husband and talk about our day during that little walk. And art too, finding that when you can do something just because you want to do it and not because it's someone's asking you, or when everything kind of aligns and you're in one of those rare kind of flows, that is such a great thing. You get the music right and everything is just so nice. Yeah, and then new hobbies, I think I like to sew. So I was doing some mending and some clothing making for myself, which I've never really done that before.
That's so cool.
It's fun, yeah.
What was the first thing you made?
It was a shirt, just a top, a really simple.
Oh, that's cool.
Top, and I've made like some other things before, but never clothing for myself, just for my kids, costumes and things like that. I did a little bit of dyeing as well, like dyed with mulberry and turmeric and rust.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was one of those like, making the sourdough bread and dyeing clothes and various things, and those are fun. I found a banjo and tried to play that for a little bit, but the hobby didn't stick around as much. But those things, and gardening has always just been just a sustaining part of my life.
I know that you mentioned that you read a lot of books, and we love seeing you here with your children at our Avondale Library. And I'm just curious, what are some of your favorite books, and what have you been reading lately?
Some of my favorite books.
I know it's an expansive question, because it probably could go on for 30 minutes, or like the list is kind of never ending for some people.
I know, because there's so many genres. Like I love Frank Herbert. I loved Dune. That saga was so great. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
Was amazing. Like that book just cracks me up so much. All the three in that series, all of them. Um, Children's books. I mean, I still love children's books for the pictures, and sometimes you get the words together, and they just have this wonderful immersive. So I'm thinking of Beagle, Dan Santat, which was that one, the Caldecott, maybe 5 years ago or something. That's such an amazing book. Um, uh, Carson Ellis does Is Tack is her picture book, won a few years ago, Caldecott, and it's such an amazing book. The Magician's Nephew just tickles my brain, and by C.S. Lewis. Those are some favorites. Favorite, like maybe an Annie Dillard. I love anything that lady writes. But Tinker at Pilgrim at Tinker Creek was maybe one of my very favorite books ever. Yeah, I mean, Harry Potter books. It's hard to choose.
I was wondering if, for our viewers who are watching, and, we never know, who could be watching. But if there's anybody out there who's saying, wow, like, I'm really inspired and I really want to pursue my dream in the arts, what kind of advice would you give them? In particular, in just pursuing any kind of artistic endeavor, but, I guess in illustration.
Oh, I love that question. Advice. Let's see. There's a children's book called, I can't think of the author illustrator. I think it's called Book of Mistakes. And the story goes that someone is drawing a girl and they mess up and they make her legs too long, but that's okay. So they put some roller skates on her because they drew her too far off the ground and she can't reach the ground, where the line is. It's just such a delightful story. There's a blob, and so now on the page from spilled ink, but that's okay because we're going to turn this into hair now. And I think that book is such a great way to live life, and it's also a great way to look at art as well. I think with social media and digital art, we have such an ability to hyper curate what the world sees that we do. They don't see the piles of sketchbooks, the things that are in the trash can. They don't see the toil behind it. So just knowing that we're all making mistakes as we go and we're all embracing those mistakes, I think is really the biggest teacher. I mean, no slam against digital art. I mean, I do use it to clean my pictures and all of my smudges. Like, look at all of this on this. It's just, it's
beautiful though.
Well, thank you, but I think you have to be willing to just embrace the mistakes and the messy side, and not be discouraged when you make a face and the eyes aren't level, or how can you love that picture? How can you turn it into something even better? Whether it's starting over and learning from your mistake, or just simply leaving it on the page. But I think learning to be flexible with yourself and your learning process, because if you love it, you're not gonna leave the format. So just knowing that that's part of it, and we're all doing that. We're all messy. We're all just putting spots of ink and making things in not quite the right way. Your hand might be shaky one day, or your eyes might be tired and you need a rest. And just learning to that we're all doing that behind the scenes, because we're all just people.
I absolutely love that. I think like kind of in a capitalist society, we don't really talk about that, you know? And yeah, everybody has bad days, even artists. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today and taking time out to talk with me about your art and about your life and what you're doing here in Birmingham. And I'm just so thankful to know you and to have you as a patron here at Avondale. And thank you, and hopefully I will see you sometime in the library soon.
Thank you. Thank you for being such a great interviewer.
Oh,
And
thanks.
this was a lot of fun, and you had really great questions. And yeah, just looking forward to remaining part of this wonderful community.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye.